7-year-old Claire set up her lemonade stand on Main Street and XYZ's. The stand wasn't much, it was just a small, worn-out table with lemonade 25 cents hand-painted on it. In front of her was a jar that was only half full of coins that she had saved up over the weeks. She wore her mom's favorite apron, which was now too big for her, around her waist as she poured drinks for the few people who stopped to talk. Claire's eyes lit up every time someone walked by, but people were moving slowly. People were too busy with their own things to notice a girl selling lemonade. People who did stop smiled, gave her money, and tapped her on the shoulder quickly. It helped a little, but not nearly enough. The headstone she wanted for her mom's grave wasn't cheap, and no matter how hard she tried, her jar never seemed to be full enough. She stood at her stand for hours with her little hands sticky from the sugar and lemon juice. Some school kids came by, her and telling her to come play. Claire waved back, but her heart was all over the place. She was sure she couldn't go. There was no way for her to leave that spot because she couldn't bear the thought of her mom's empty grave. As the afternoon sun beat down, Claire wiped her forehead and made her sign stand up straight. She told herself not to give up. As usual, she felt let down when a car slowed down and then kept going. She knew why she was there, so she stood a little taller. It was for her mom. She wasn't going to give up, no matter how long it took or how many quarters she had to gather. Claire poured herself another cup of lemonade and looked out at the regular flow of people and cars. She hoped that today would be the day that something would change. Claire set up her stand every morning before most people were even awake. It was always the same. Put the cups in order, mix the lemonade, and check that her sign was straight. But as the days went by, the slow trickle of people got to be too much for her. She kept her smile on, but worry started to creep in. Would she ever get what she wanted? As the sun went up, the street got busy with people going to work. Claire saw people move quickly by. They were talking on the phone with their eyes fixed on it. They looked at her very briefly. Many times when someone did stop, it was just to say good luck, put some change in her jar. Even though she was thankful, the small amounts didn't even come close to meeting her needs. By afternoon, the sun wouldn't go away. Being on her feet hurt, and the sticky heat made the lemonade in the pitcher sweat. She fixed her sign, which was leaning because of the wind, and took a quick look at the jar. It wasn't very full compared to the morning. Even though she felt angry, she took a deep breath and pushed it away. Giving up wasn't a choice. A group of school kids walked by laughing and went to the park. Claire felt her heartache as she watched them. It was her wish to run, play, and forget for a moment why she was here. She had a clear picture of her mom in her mind, though, and that was enough to keep her at her little table. Claire grabbed a paper towel to wipe her sticky hands and smiled at the next customer to hide how tired she was. A man stopped and looked at her sign with wrinkled brows. "Why are you doing this?" He put a few quarters into the jar and asked. Claire spoke in a soft but steady voice. "For my mom." He stopped, looked at her, and gave her a slow nod before continuing on his way. Those kinds of times gave her hope. Very short and flashing, but real. There were little things that made her keep coming back every day, hoping that one day it would be enough. The sun was going down in the afternoon, leaving long shadows on the street. Claire wiped her forehead and drank some of her own lemonade to calm down. She was beginning to feel the weight of another day that didn't go anywhere. As she thought about leaving early, a sleek black car pulled up and parked nearby. Claire wasn't interested. All day cars came and went, but this one was different. A man came out. Without taking his hands out, he walked over and stopped in front of her stand. Claire looked up because she thought the deal would be quick. "How much is a cup?" His voice was warm and friendly as he asked. Claire pushed a cup toward him and said, 25 cents. He took it, sipped, and gave a serious nod. He smiled and said, "Good lemonade, why do you want to sell it?" Claire's fears made her heart race. Not every day did someone ask. She answered softly, "It's for my mom's tombstone." Her eyes fell on the jar. The man's face changed, and Claire couldn't tell if it was surprise or something else. "Your mom?" He said it again to himself. He looked at her for a long time, like he was putting something important together. As the street got busy, some people slowed down when they saw him. Heads turned one by one. A small group of people were talking to each other. "Is that Elon Musk?" Someone spoke softly. "Yes, that's right. Elon Musk walks by while this girl sells lemonade for her mom's grave. What he does next, though, shocks everyone." Claire looked up, not sure what was going on with the sudden attention. As soon as he took off his shades and smiled at her again, there were gasps. There was Elon Musk right in front of her lemonade stand. He put a crisp dollar bill in her jar and said, "I'll take another cup." Claire's eyes got really big when she saw the $100 bill tucked in with the coins. Before she could say anything, the crowd pressed in closer, cameras ready to record the moment. "Could you tell me more about your mom?" Elon said as he pulled up a chair. Then Claire's quiet stand became the talk of the town. But what was more important was that something had finally changed in her day. Claire was shocked by what was going on, drinking lemonade and paying close attention. People who were just watching and people who had their phones out to record the moment joined the crowd. Claire spoke with shaking hands as she talked about her mom, how much she missed her, the laughs they shared, the songs they sang while making lemonade, and how much they laughed together. Claire said in a shaking voice she was the best. I just want her to have a proper place so I can go see her and talk to her. The crowd, which had been talking and guessing, stopped talking. Even the sound of cars going by seemed to fade. Elon put his cup down and leaned in. He told Claire, "I'm sorry for your loss." His eyes showed that he meant it. As he looked at the jar, the coins and bills just barely reached the bottom. Life helps us out sometimes when we least expect it. He got up and spoke to the crowd. He said that the story of this young girl shows how love and strength can get us through the hardest times. He smiled as he turned back to Claire. "I'd like to pay for everything that goes into making your mom's tombstone." Claire opened her mouth wide. There were whispers that turned into cheers, and some claps could be heard in the background. Elon wasn't done yet, though. He went on, "And more than that, I want to set up a trust fund so that you can go to college in the future. With this much drive, no one should ever feel like what they can't do is possible." The cheers turned into a ruckus. When Claire looked at Elon, who seemed bigger than life, her eyes filled with tears. The world got fuzzy, and all she could say was thank you in a whisper. As they got closer, people yelled questions and took pictures. "Elon, why did you decide to stop?" Someone yelled. He put his sunglasses back on and looked up. He replied with a knowing look at Claire. "Sometimes you don't get to choose. Life makes the choice for you." More cheers came from the crowd, and Claire's little stand felt like it was the most important place in the world. Elon got down on his knees again to meet Claire's level. He told her, "Make me a promise if you get older and can help someone, do it and tell them about it." Claire agreed, but tears were running down her face. "I will," she said, her voice steady even though she was feeling a lot of different things. The crowd split to let him through as he walked back to his car. They were still very excited. Claire held the jar in her small, sticky hands and watched him walk away. The jar was still the same, but everything else had changed. This was the first time in a long time that hope really felt real. Her heart felt lighter. This was great. The kind thing Elon Musk did got around like wildfire. The next day, Claire's story was all over the local news, and soon it was being covered across the country as well. People from all over the country wrote her letters of support, and some even came to her small town just to stop by her stand and say hello. The people in the town agreed to remember Claire and her mom together. For an event in the town hall, local businesses gave away food, decorations, and even a small stage. The courage of Claire hung in the trees, and the air was filled with joy as families and friends got together to party. Claire was in the middle of it all. She was wearing her best clothes and her mom's favorite necklace. As she looked out at the crowd, she felt both happy and shocked. There were some familiar faces among the many new ones. The lemonade stand that used to be in a quiet area was now set up on the stage and looked pretty. It was a sign of how hard she had worked. A council member from the area took the mic and talked about how important it is to be kind and help others. This story isn't just about being kind. He smiled at Claire and said, "It's about how one little girl taught us all what it means to hope." After that, everyone went to the graveyard to see Claire's mom's new tombstone in peace. As soon as the cover was lifted, tears filled everyone's eyes. Inside was a simple but beautiful message that captured the spirit of her mom. Claire's heart grew as she read it. She felt more connected to her mom than, well, a long time. Back in the square, people laughed and told stories as the event went on. People in the neighborhood talked about how Claire's drive had made them want to face their own problems, no matter how small. Later that night, Claire sat with her jar in her lap. It was full of cards from people who liked her and more than enough money for her to keep standing where she was. One thing was for sure, her life had changed in ways she couldn't fully understand yet. There was respect for her mom's memory, and hope came back into her heart. Claire felt like the days after the party went by so quickly. She thought about the friendly faces, sweet words, and touching moments as she set up her lemonade stand on the corner where she usually did it. Things felt different this time, not because of the extra attention or the money, but because she felt hopeful. Claire chose to keep running her stand, but this time she had a different goal in mind. The small sign she put up said, "Proceeds will help needy families in the area." People came not only to buy lemonade, but also to talk to her, share their stories, and get some ideas from the little girl who showed everyone in town how to be persistent. One day, Claire was setting up when a sleek black car she knew pulled up next to her. That's right, Elon Musk came out without the mask this time. As he walked over, Claire's eyes got bigger and she smiled. "How are things going, Claire?" He smiled and asked. Claire was happy to show off her new sign and say, "Good, my job now is to help other people." With a nod and a smile, Elon said, "Yes," he said, "I knew you'd pass it on." She got a small envelope from him. He then said, "This is for your future," and walked back to his car. There was a handwritten note inside the package about the trust fund and a promise to help pay for her schooling. The town's story brought good things to the world. Claire's lemonade stand kept doing well, not only as a place to get a cool drink, but also as a sign of strength and community. The notes and nice words people put in her jar reminded her that what began as a small thing she did to help her mom had turned into something much bigger. Claire would feel thankful for this time many years from now. She would remember the sticky summer days, the people who came over and laughed, and the time when hope came back into her life just when she needed it the most. The woman smiled as she poured another customer a cup of lemonade. She knew that her story and the memory of her mom would continue to move people to do good things for years to come. What would you do if someone did something nice for you and it changed everything? Tell us what you think below.